March 17th, 1941. The telegram arrives at 3:47 in the afternoon. Dr. Charles Aldrich Griffin is in his laboratory when it comes. He is 37 years old. His hands are stained with chemicals. His mind is lost in the mathematics of explosive compounds. The messenger boy knocks twice. Griffin looks up. He sees the yellow envelope. He knows what yellow envelopes mean. Death comes on yellow paper. He signs for it. The boy leaves. Griffin opens the envelope alone. Regret to inform you. SS Manitoba, torpedoed 240 miles west of Ireland. No survivors. Thomas Griffin confirmed lost. Deepest condolences. Royal Navy. Thomas, his brother. His only brother, gone. Griffin's hands shake. The paper trembles. He grips the workbench. The wood grain presses into his palms. Thomas is seawater now. Darkness. Depth. Griffin's mind calculates. It always does in crisis. The SS Manitoba was 7,000 tons, part of convoy HX-112, protected by 4 destroyers. 4 destroyers were not enough. He walks to his office, opens his filing cabinet, pulls out a folder marked Confidential, Anti-Submarine Warfare, Depth Charge Effectiveness Analysis. He has read this report a dozen times. Now he reads it with different eyes. The Mark 7 depth charge must detonate within 14 feet of a submarine hull to cause fatal damage. The attacking destroyer loses sonar contact approximately 30 seconds before the charges explode. Success rate, 1.7%. 1.7%. Griffin stares at those numbers. Thomas died because the weapon does not work. 98.3% of the time, the U-boat escapes. And when the hunter misses, the U-boat returns, finds another convoy, another merchant ship, another brother who will never come home. Griffin closes the folder. Something has changed. Something that was theoretical has become personal. He will fix this. Thomas will not be just a number. Thomas will be a reason. 3 days later, there is a memorial service. No body. The Atlantic keeps what it takes. A church in Toronto. Too many people in black. Too many yellow telegrams in too many pockets. Griffin sits beside Sarah. Thomas's widow. 26 years old. In her arms she holds Michael. 6 months old. Thomas's son. A boy who will never remember his father's face. The minister speaks about sacrifice. About duty. About how Thomas died serving his country. Griffin wants to scream. Thomas did not die serving his country. Thomas died because depth charges have a 1.7% success rate. Thomas died because no one bothered to solve the problem. After the service, Sarah approaches him. Charles, will it matter? Thomas dying, will it matter? Griffin looks at her, at the baby, at the question that has no good answer. Yes, I will make it matter. He means it. Griffin returns to London, to his laboratory, but now the work has purpose beyond duty. Now the work is personal. He studies every anti-submarine warfare report he can access. He reads for 16 hours a day. He fills notebooks with calculations. The problem becomes clear. The depth charge is fundamentally flawed. The attacking ship must pass over the submarine, must lose sonar contact for 30 seconds while the charges sink. 30 seconds. In 30 seconds, a submarine can turn, dive deeper, change speed. By the time the charges explode, the submarine has moved. Griffin sees the solution immediately. Attack from ahead. Maintain sonar contact throughout the engagement. Fire projectiles forward while the submarine is still visible on sonar. Use contact fuses that detonate only when striking the target. Simple, revolutionary, obvious once you see it. He writes a proposal, 15 pages, mathematics, physics, chemistry, a theoretical weapon that fires 24 projectiles in an elliptical pattern 200 yards ahead of the attacking ship. He submits it to the Admiralty. 2 weeks later, he is summoned to a meeting. The conference room is in Whitehall. Grey walls, grey men, grey faces tired from 2 years of war. Griffin presents his proposal. Blackboard diagrams, mathematics, tactical advantages. The admirals listen. Their expressions do not change. When Griffin finishes, there is silence. Admiral Sir Reginald Thornton speaks. 63 years old, 42 years in the Royal Navy. Mr. Griffin, are you suggesting that the Royal Navy has been conducting anti-submarine warfare incorrectly for the past quarter century? Griffin meets his gaze. Yes, sir. Thornton's jaw tightens. You are a chemist, a civilian, a colonial. You have never commanded a ship, never hunted a submarine, and you presume to lecture the Admiralty on tactical doctrine? I presume to solve a problem that is killing our men, sir. The depth charge is a proven weapon, with a 1.7% success rate. The room goes very quiet. Thornton stands. This meeting is over. Your proposal is rejected, and if you value your position, Mr. Griffin, you will return to your assigned work and stop wasting the Admiralty's time with fantasy weapons. Griffin does not move. My brother died on the SS Manitoba. My brother's son will grow up without a father because we are using weapons that do not work. How many more brothers have to die before we admit the problem? Thornton's face flushes red. Get out! Griffin gathers his papers, walks to the door, stops. You will regret this, Admiral, when the numbers cannot be ignored anymore. When Churchill asks why we are losing the Battle of the Atlantic, you will remember this meeting. He leaves. Behind him, the admirals sit in silence. Griffin walks through London, cold, scarred from bombing. He thinks about quitting, but that would make Thomas's death meaningless. He goes to a pub, orders whiskey. An older man sits down across from him without asking. You look like a man with problems. Griffin looks up. The man is perhaps 55, weathered face, grey hair, cropped military short, a scar across his left cheek. Civilian clothes, but military posture. And you are? Colonel Warren Blackwood, retired, mostly. What do you want, Colonel? Blackwood smiles. It is not a warm smile. I was in that meeting today. Not officially. I observe sometimes, for people who matter. You impressed some people. Not Thornton. He is an ass. But others. I was thrown out. Because you were right, which is worse than being wrong in certain circles. Griffin drinks his whiskey. Why are you here? Because I build weapons, strange weapons, weapons the establishment does not like, and I heard your proposal. The forward-throwing projector, the contact fuses, the maintained sonar lock. No, it will never be built. The Admiralty does not control everything. I can help you build this weapon, but I need to know something first. What? Why do you care this much? Griffin tells him. About Thomas, about Sarah, about Michael, about the 1.7% that killed his brother. Blackwood listens. When Griffin finishes, the colonel nods. I lost men in the trenches. 1916. Somme. We attacked the same position 17 times. Same tactics. Same results. 20,000 dead in one day because no one questioned whether the approach worked. He stands. I will not make that mistake again. Come to my workshop tomorrow, 10 o'clock. We have work to do. For the first time in weeks, Griffin feels hope. Blackwood's workshop is in South London, a converted warehouse, organized chaos. This is the spigot mortar, Blackwood says. He points to a strange device, a metal rod protruding upward, a cylindrical projectile mounted over it. It looks backward. Exactly. The spigot reverses conventional design. The explosive charge surrounds the rod. When fired, the projectile travels up the rod and launches forward. Simpler, lighter, more reliable, he demonstrates. The device cracks. The projectile flies across the warehouse. Now imagine this naval, multiple projectiles, fired simultaneously, landing in a pattern ahead of the ship. While sonar contact is maintained, Griffin's mind races. How many projectiles? 24, 4 rows of 6. Weight per projectile? 65 pounds, 7 inches in diameter. Sink rate? 22 feet per second, 3 times faster than depth charges. Griffin calculates mentally. Time to depth at 200 feet, 9 seconds. The submarine has no time to evade. And if we use contact fuses instead of depth settings, silent misses, no acoustic disruption. The ship can attack again immediately. They look at each other. This will work, Blackwood says. If we can solve 3 problems, the projectile must survive water impact, must sink vertically. The contact fuse must be reliable but safe. Griffin removes his glasses, cleans them. Water impact is aerodynamics and materials, streamlined nose, reinforced steel casing. Agreed. Vertical sink requires weight distribution, center of gravity below center of pressure. Also agreed. Contact fuse is chemistry and physics, mechanical trigger, chemical initiator, Torpex explosive for maximum effect. Blackwood grins. We are already solving problems, but we need to build a prototype, test it, refine it, without official Admiralty support. How? I have contacts. Give me 2 weeks. I will get us funding, a test facility, access to a destroyer for trials. The Admiralty threatened my position. Your career or your brother's legacy? Choose. Griffin does not hesitate. When do we start? We already have. For 15 months they work in secret. Blackwood acquires materials through his network. Griffin designs, calculates, tests. The first prototype shatters on water impact. Failure. The second tumbles underwater. Failure. The third designs, fuse corrodes. Failure. Griffin goes days without sleep. Sarah writes him letters, sends photographs of Michael. The baby is smiling. He has Thomas's eyes. Griffin pins the photograph above his workbench. He works harder. Finally, in June 1942, they have a functional prototype. 7.2 inches diameter, 46.5 inches long, 65 pounds, 35 pounds of Torpex explosive, streamlined nose, stabilizing fins, waterproof contact fuse. They test it in a flooded quarry outside London. The projectile splashes, sinks cleanly, 23 feet per second. At the bottom, a steel plate simulates a submarine hull. The projectile hits. The explosion is magnificent. Water erupts 30 feet high. When the water settles, the steel plate has a hole 3 inches across, punched clean through. Blackwood and Griffin stand soaking wet, grinning. It works. It works. Now they need Churchill. August 1942. An estate near Chequers. A pond on the property. Churchill arrives expecting a brief test. He stays for 3 hours. Blackwood and Griffin fire salvo after salvo. 24 projectiles, elliptical pattern. Contact detonations. Churchill watches, asks technical questions, strategic questions. How many U-boats has the Royal Navy sunk with depth charges this year? 43, sir, Griffin answers. And how many ships have the U-boats sunk? 1,237. Churchill's face darkens. The ratio is unacceptable. And this weapon, what success rate do you project? Between 15 and 20% per attack, sir. Compared to depth charges at 1.7%, Churchill is quiet, lights a cigar. The Admiralty rejected this. Yes, Prime Minister. Why? They believe their existing methods are sufficient. Are they? No, sir. My brother died because they are not. Churchill looks at Griffin, sees the grief, the determination. What is your brother's name? Thomas Griffin, merchant officer, SS Manitoba, Churchill nods slowly. I will remember him, and I will ensure his death matters. He turns to an aide. Contact the Admiralty. I want this weapon in production immediately. I want it on every destroyer, every corvette, every escort in the fleet. I want it yesterday. Sir, the Admiralty has already... I do not care what the Admiralty has already done. This is a prime ministerial directive. If Admiral Thornton objects, send him to me. He faces Griffin and Blackwood again. How soon can you begin mass production? 3 months to establish manufacturing, sir. 6 months to equip the first 100 ships. Make it 2 months and 4 months. We do not have time. The U-boats are winning. This weapon will change that. He starts to leave. Stops. Turns back. What you have built here matters more than you know. You have built a chance. Perhaps the difference between victory and defeat. Do not let anyone tell you otherwise. He leaves. Griffin thinks of Thomas, of Sarah, of Michael. This is for you, he whispers. This is your legacy. The silent hammer is ready. Let it fall. November 1947. The war is over. 1. Griffin attends Thomas's grave in Toronto. He is not alone. Sarah is there. And Michael? Michael is 7 years old now. He does not remember his father. But Sarah has shown him photographs, told him stories. Uncle Charlie, Michael says. He runs to Griffin, hugs his legs. Griffin picks him up. The boy is getting heavy. Mum says you helped win the war. I helped. Many people helped. She says you did it for Dad. Yes, I did it for your dad. Did it work? I do not know, but I tried. Michael hugs him. Thank you for trying. Later, Griffin stands alone at the grave. I built the weapon, Thomas. It worked. Better than I hoped. We sank 47 U-boats, changed the tide, made D-Day possible. The headstone does not answer. But I cannot stop thinking about the men who died. German boys in submarines, following orders, and my weapon killed them. Griffin kneels, touches the stone. Was it worth it, Thomas? Your death? My revenge? Their deaths? Was it worth the price? The wind blows, cold, Canadian cold. Griffin does not expect an answer, but somehow, kneeling there, he finds something close to peace. Not forgiveness, acceptance. The war is over, the weapon worked, the killing stopped. That will have to be enough. April 23rd, 1943, HMS Westcott cuts through the North Atlantic. The sea is dark, the sky is darker, the wind carries salt and the promise of storm. Commander Nathaniel Ashford stands on the bridge. He is 35 years old. He has hunted submarines for 3 years. He has dropped 347 depth charges. He has sunk 2 U-boats, maybe 3. The oil slicks suggest kills, but oil slicks lie. U-boats pump oil to fake their deaths. Ashford knows this. The uncertainty haunts him. Tonight, he hunts with something new. On the foredeck, mounted where the forward gun used to be, sits the Hedgehog, 24 projectiles arranged in 4 rows. They look like spines, like quills on some mechanical animal. The sailors call it the porcupine weapon. They do not trust it yet. They trust depth charges. Depth charges are familiar. Depth charges are proven. Depth charges do not work, but they are familiar. Ashford trusts numbers. The numbers say Hedgehog should work. The numbers say contact fuses and forward firing and maintained sonar lock should kill submarines. Tonight he will learn if numbers translate to death. The sonar operator calls out, "Contact, sir. Bearing 090, range 1400 yards. Ashford moves to the sonar station, studies the trace. The echo is strong, clear. A submarine, definitely a submarine. All ahead full, steer 090. Sound action stations. The alarm bells ring. Men run. The ship accelerates. Ashford watches the range close. 1,400 yards, 1,200, 1,800 yards. Steady as she goes, prepare to fire, Hedgehog. The weapons officer stands ready, his hand on the firing lever. He has never fired, Hedgehog, in combat. No one has. This is the first time, the first test, the first proof. 600 yards. The sonar ping returns strong and steady. The submarine is still there, still visible, still hunting the convoy it thinks is safe. 400 yards. Sir, the weapons officer says, his voice tight. We are in range. Ashford waits, counts his heartbeats, watches the sonar trace. 200 yards. Fire, Hedgehog. The launcher cracks. 24 projectiles arc into the darkness. They are invisible against the black sky. They fall in silence. No whistling, no screaming, just physics and mathematics and Griffin's calculations made real. The projectiles hit the water. 200 yards ahead, Ashford keeps his eyes on the sonar. The contact is still there, still strong. The submarine has not moved, has not evaded, does not know what is coming. 9 seconds. The projectiles sink at 23 feet per second. Ashford counts. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Nothing. Silence. The weapons officer looks at Ashford. The sonar operator looks at Ashford. The bridge crew looks at Ashford. Ashford says nothing, keeps watching the sonar. Then the ocean erupts. The explosion is massive. Not one, multiple. 6 projectiles, 7, 8, all detonating simultaneously. The shockwave hits Westcott. The ship shudders. The deck plates rattle. The windows flex. On the sonar, the contact disappears. Not fading, not moving away, gone. Deleted from existence. The sonar operator's voice is shaking. Contact lost, sir. Massive disruption at target location. Ashford waits, watches. The acoustic disturbance clears faster than depth charges, much faster. Within 30 seconds, the sonar is functional again. No contact, no submarine, no echo. Sir, the lookout calls. Oil on the surface, debris, wreckage. Ashford steps outside. The wind hits his face, cold, wet. He walks to the rail, looks down. The sea is covered in oil, a slick spreading in the moonlight. Rainbow colors on black water. And, floating in the slick, pieces of a submarine. Metal fragments, wooden planking, a life jacket, a boot. No men. 53 men were on that U-boat. Now they are debris. Ashford feels nothing. Not triumph, not satisfaction, just confirmation. The numbers were correct. Hedgehog works. In London, Charles Griffin receives the report 3 days later. He is in his office, surrounded by production schedules and manufacturing specifications. 114 ships now carry Hedgehog. More are being equipped every week. The telegram is brief. HMS Westcott, U-183, Hedgehog, attack, confirmed kill, first combat success. Griffin reads it twice, then he puts it in a drawer. He does not celebrate. 53 men died to prove his mathematics correct. 53 mothers will receive telegrams like the one he received about Thomas. 53 families will attend memorial services for bodies that will never be found. But the weapon works. The weapon that might save thousands, tens of thousands. The weapon that might end the Battle of the Atlantic. The weapon that might bring Sarah's husband home, bring other brothers home, bring fathers home to sons like Michael. Griffin looks at the photograph pinned above his desk. Thomas, smiling, alive, before the war, before the SS Manitoba, before everything. It works, Griffin whispers to the photograph. Your death bought this. I hope it was worth the price. The photograph does not answer. February 24th, 1944. The North Atlantic is frozen rage. HMCS Waskesiu rolls in 12-foot seas. Ice coats the rigging. The wind screams. Commander Rowan Kingsley has been awake for 18 hours. His ship is escorting convoy ONS-29. 43 merchant ships crawling toward England, carrying food and fuel and ammunition and hope. And somewhere beneath the black water, a U-boat is hunting. The sonar contact came at 0200 hours. Bearing 170, range 1200 yards. The U-boat has been playing games ever since. Diving deep, running silent, surfacing briefly to gulp air, diving again. Kingsley is patient. He has Hedgehog. He can attack while maintaining contact. He can miss and attack again immediately. He can afford to be patient. The U-boat cannot. 0410 hours. The contact solidifies. The U-boat commander has made a mistake, has surfaced in the wrong position, has given Kingsley an angle. Fire Hedgehog. The projectiles launch, land, sink, silence, miss. Reload, fire again. Another pattern, another silence, another miss. The sonar operator is sweating despite the cold. Contact holding, sir. He is not evading. Then we keep attacking. Fire. Third salvo, this time 2 explosions, 2 hits, not enough to kill, but enough to damage. The sonar shows the submarine changing depth erratically, losing control, 0550 hours. The U-boat surfaces. Kingsley sees it through binoculars. 500 yards off the starboard bow, the conning tower breaks the surface. The hull wallows in the waves, crippled, dying, trying to run on diesel engines that cannot save it. Gunnery, engage. The 4-inch gun barks. The first shell lands long. The second hits the conning tower, explodes, metal flies. The third shell punches through the hull at the waterline. The U-boat is finished. Kingsley can see men on the deck now, scrambling, panicking. The submarine is sinking. They have minutes, maybe less. Then one man appears on the conning tower, an officer. Even at 500 yards, Kingsley can see his posture. Calm, deliberate. He is not panicking. The officer throws something overboard, a life jacket, then another, then an inflatable raft. He is giving his crew a chance. Then the officer goes back inside. The U-boat's bow dips. Water pours over the foredeck. The stern lifts. Higher, higher. 15 minutes after surfacing, U-257 slides beneath the waves, vertical, like a monument, like a tombstone. Gone. In the darkness, voices call out. German voices. Hilfe! Hilfe! Help! Help! Kingsley gives the order. All stop. Prepare to recover survivors. The crew lowers ropes, throws life rings, pulls men from the water. They are young, most of them, barely 20, shivering, terrified, exhausted. 19 men are pulled aboard, 19 out of 58. They are given blankets, hot coffee, dry clothes. They are treated gently. One of them, a young officer with a gash across his forehead, looks at Kingsley with confusion. You rescue us? Yes. Why? Kingsley considers the question. Because the war is not with you. The war is with your U-boat. Your U-boat is dead. You are just sailors now. The German officer nods slowly. What weapon was that? What hit us? Classified. Not depth charges, something else. Something we do not know. Kingsley says nothing. The German officer looks at the water where his submarine disappeared, where his captain went down, where 39 of his comrades are becoming part of the ocean. He saved us, the German says quietly. Kapitän Richter. He threw us the rafts, then he stayed. He went down with the boat. He was a brave man. He was a good man. They stand in silence, enemy and enemy, but also sailor and sailor, both understanding what the ocean takes, what the ocean costs. When the survivors are transferred to another ship for transport to POW camps, one of them shakes Kingsley's hand. "Thank you," he says in broken English, "for pulling us out." "Good luck," Kingsley replies. After they leave, Kingsley writes the report. U-257, sunk. Hedgehog attack, multiple hits, 43 casualties, 19 prisoners. He does not mention Captain Richter's final act, but he thinks about it, thinks about the officer who chose to save his men instead of himself, wonders if he would make the same choice, hopes he never has to find out. May 1943. Admiral Karl Dönitz sits in his headquarters in Berlin. He is surrounded by charts, by reports, by numbers that make no sense. April, 15 U-boats lost. May, 41 U-boats lost. 41 submarines in 1 month. 25% of his operational force gone in 30 days. The reports from surviving commanders make no sense. They describe attacks that come without warning, explosions that occur instantly, no time to evade, no acoustic disruption afterward, no pattern to learn and counter. Some commanders report depth charges, but the statistics do not match depth charge effectiveness. Something has changed, something the British are not revealing. Dönitz calls a meeting with his intelligence officers. What are they using? The officers look at each other. None want to speak first. Finally, Korvettenkapitän Ernst Hoffmann answers. "We do not know, Herr Admiral. We have interrogated captured British sailors. They mention only depth charges. We have examined wreckage. Nothing unusual. We have intercepted communications. No references to new weapons." Then how do you explain 41 boats lost? Improved tactics, better sonar, more escorts, air cover, closing the Atlantic gap. All of those factors existed in March. In March we lost 12 boats. Now we lose 41. That is not incremental improvement, that is fundamental change. Silence. Dönitz lights a cigarette. His hand shakes slightly. He has sent 39,000 men to fight in U-boats. 28,000 are already dead. The casualty rate is 75%. In the Wehrmacht, in the Luftwaffe, such losses would be considered catastrophic, unsustainable. In the Kriegsmarine, in the U-boat service, it is normal. But this month is different. This month feels like collapse. "Pull the boats back," Dönitz says, "temporarily, until we understand what has changed. Herr Admiral, the Führer will not—" "I do not care what the Führer will say. I will not send men to die when I do not understand how they are dying. Pull them back, now." The order goes out. For the first time in the war, the U-boats retreat. The Battle of the Atlantic turns. And in London, Charles Griffin reads the intelligence reports and understands. The silent weapon is working precisely because it is silent. The Germans are dying without knowing why, and that ignorance is as deadly as the explosives. Griffin visits HMS Westcott in July 1943. He wants to see Hedgehog in action, wants to understand what his mathematics looks like when translated to combat. Commander Ashford meets him at the gangway. "Dr. Griffin, welcome aboard." "Thank you, Commander. I hope I am not intruding." "Not at all. The crew will be honored. You built the weapon that is keeping us alive." Ashford gives Griffin a tour, shows him the Hedgehog launcher, the loading mechanism, the fire control station. The sailors are respectful, curious. They ask questions about the weapon, about how it works, why it works. Griffin answers what he can. That night, Westcott hunts. Sonar contact at 2200 hours. U-boat stalking the convoy. Ashford goes to action stations. Griffin stands on the bridge, trying to stay out of the way. Ashford turns to him. "I have made 8 attacks so far, Dr. Griffin. 4 confirmed kills, 2 probables, 2 misses. Tonight will be number 9. That is a 50% success rate on confirmed kills. Your weapon works." "Our weapon, Commander." Ashford fires, the Hedgehog launches, Griffin watches the projectiles disappear into darkness, counts the seconds. The explosion lights the night, orange fire on black water. The shockwave rolls across the ocean. Westcott shudders. On the sonar, the contact vanishes. Kill, the sonar operator reports. Confirmed. Ashford marks it on his chart. U-471, sunk. 44 hands lost. 5 confirmed kills now. 5 out of 9 attacks. Griffin walks to the rail, looks at the oil slick forming. The debris field spreading. He can smell the oil, thick, choking, mixed with something else, something organic, something that used to be human. Ashford joins him. "Does it get easier?" Griffin asks, "knowing that your weapon just killed 44 men?" "No," Ashford says, "it does not get easier. But I think of the alternative. If we had not sunk that U-boat, it would have sunk 3 merchant ships, maybe 4. Each merchant ship carries 60 men. You do the mathematics, Dr. Griffin. 44 deaths versus 240 deaths. Which do you choose?" "I do not know if those are the only choices. In war, they are." They stand in silence, watching the ocean consume the evidence, watching the convoy sail past, safe, for now. "My brother died on a merchant ship," Griffin says. "A U-boat sank it. I built Hedgehog to stop that from happening to other brothers." "Then you succeeded." "Did I? Or did I just become better at killing?" Ashford has no answer for that, for later, in his cabin, Griffin writes a letter to Colonel Blackwood. "The weapon works," he writes, perhaps too well. "We have become very efficient at death. I am not certain how I feel about that," Blackwood writes back 3 days later. "You are not supposed to feel good about it," his letter says. "You are supposed to feel the weight. That weight keeps you human. The day you stop feeling it is the day you become the thing you are fighting." Griffin keeps the letter, reads it often, reminds himself that the weight matters. May 1944. Halfway around the world, in the Pacific, USS England is hunting. Lieutenant Declan Hartwell is the tactical officer. 26 years old, from Alabama. He has a gift for reading sonar, for predicting submarine movements, for calculating firing solutions in his head. May 19th, 1944, south of the Admiralty Islands, England detects a Japanese submarine, I-16, range 800 yards. Hartwell plots the solution, calls the firing order. Hedgehog launches. Massive explosion. The ship's fantail lifts from the water. I-16 destroyed. 107 Japanese sailors dead. May 22nd. RO-106. 49 dead. May 23rd. RO-104. 58 dead. This Japanese commander is skilled. Takes 12 Hedgehog hits to kill him. May 24th. RO-116. 56 dead. May 26th. RO-108. 58 dead. May the 31st. RO-105. After a 2-day battle, 55 dead. 6 submarines, 12 days. 330 men dead by Hartwell's calculations. Admiral Ernest King sends a personal telegram. There will always be an England in the United States Navy. The crew celebrates. Hartwell does not. He stands on deck, smoking a cigarette, watching the sun set over the Pacific, thinking about numbers. A young sailor approaches. "Sir, can I ask you something?" "Go ahead." "How do you feel about killing all those men?" Hartwell takes a long drag, exhales smoke. "I feel like I'm doing my job. Every submarine we sink is one less submarine that can torpedo our transports, one less submarine that can kill our Marines. The more we sink, the sooner this war ends." "But does it bother you?" "Every single night." The sailor nods, walks away. Hartwell finishes his cigarette, thinks about the British weapon that made his kills possible. Hedgehog. Some British chemist designed it. Some British colonel built it. Now American sailors are using it to kill Japanese submariners who will never know what weapon hit them. War is efficient. War is global. War is mathematics made flesh. Hartwell drops the cigarette, crushes it under his boot, goes back to work. Because the ocean is full of submarines, and someone has to sink them. In London, Griffin receives reports from the Pacific. USS England, 6 kills, 12 days. The Americans are calling Hedgehog the British miracle. Now, Griffin thinks that is generous. Miracles do not require trigonometry. Miracles do not need Torpex. Miracles are not covered in the blood of 330 men. But he takes the compliment and continues production. Because the war is not over. Because U-boats still hunt. Because the silent hammer must keep falling until there is nothing left to hit. May 6th, 1945. The war in Europe is over. Germany has surrendered. The guns have stopped. The bombs have stopped falling. After 5 years and 8 months, the killing has stopped. Almost. Off the coast of Rhode Island, USS Atherton detects a submarine contact, U-853, one of the last operational U-boats. Her commander either has not received the surrender order or has chosen to ignore it. He is still at war, still hunting, still trying to sink one more ship before the ocean takes him. Atherton calls for assistance. USS Moberly responds. Together they prosecute the contact. They use Hedgehog, 3 salvos. The second salvo hits, multiple detonations, the ocean boils, oil and debris surface. 55 German sailors die in the wreckage, the last U-boat killed in the Atlantic, the last men to die in a battle that claimed 783 German submarines and 28,000 German submariners, the last proof that Hedgehog works. When Charles Griffin receives the report, he feels nothing, no triumph, no satisfaction, no relief, just emptiness. The war is over, his weapon helped win it. His brother's death meant something, but Thomas is still dead. Sarah is still a widow. Michael is still growing up without a father. And Griffin has become very good at calculating the mathematics of death. Griffin sits in his office. It is late, past midnight. London is celebrating. People are in the streets, singing, dancing, drinking, kissing strangers. The blackout curtains are coming down. The lights are coming on. After 5 years of darkness, London is remembering what brightness looks like. Griffin is not celebrating. He is counting. The final reports are on his desk. Complete statistics from the Admiralty. Every Hedgehog attack, every result, every kill, every miss. Total Hedgehog attacks, 268. Total U-boats sunk, 47. Success rate, 17.5%. Griffin writes the number down. Then he pulls out another file. Depth charge statistics. Total depth charge attacks, 5,174. Total U-boats sunk, 85. Success rate, 1.65%. He calculates the ratio. 17.5 divided by 1.65, 10.6. Hedgehog is 10.6 times more effective than depth charges. 10.6 times more effective at killing. Griffin stares at the number. This is what Thomas's death bought. This is what 2,000 German submariners' deaths proved. This is what Griffin's 3 years of work achieved. A number. 10.6. He thinks about the German officer from U-257, the one Commander Kingsley pulled from the water, the one who asked what weapon hit them. Griffin never answered that question, never told the truth. But now the war is over. Now there are no more secrets. Griffin decides he needs to talk to that German officer, needs to explain, needs to understand if the killing was worth it. June 1945. The POW camp is in Yorkshire. Rolling hills, green fields, barbed wire and guard towers that look almost peaceful in the English summer. Griffin drives there in a borrowed car. He has official permission. The Admiralty is allowing selected scientists to interview German prisoners, to gather intelligence, to understand what the enemy knew and when they knew it. Griffin is not interested in intelligence, he is interested in redemption. The German officer's name is Oberleutnant Waldemar Nickel, 3rd Watch Officer of U-257, 24 years old. He survived 18 months of war, survived 45 minutes in the North Atlantic in February, survived the sinking of his submarine. He sits across from Griffin in a small interview room. A guard stands by the door. Neither of them speaks at first. Nickel looks young, too young. His face still has a boyish quality beneath the prison pallor. His hands are scarred from submarine duty, chemical burns, diesel stains that never wash out. "You are Dr. Griffin?" Nickel asks. His English is accented but clear. "Yes." "They say you built the weapon that sank my boat."
"Deal, I helped build it, yes." Nickel nods slowly. "I want to know what it was. We never knew. We died not knowing. That bothered me. Still bothers me." Griffin explains. The forward-throwing projector, the contact fuses, the maintained sonar lock, the Torpex explosive, the mathematics that make it 10.6 times deadlier than depth charges. Nickel listens, does not interrupt. When Griffin finishes, the German is quiet for a long moment. "That is why we could not evade," he finally says.
"You kept seeing us, even while attacking. We had no blind spot to hide in." "Yes. And the explosions, so fast, no time to react. The projectiles sink at 23 feet per second, 3 times faster than depth charges. We never had a chance." "No, you did not." Nickel looks at his hands, the scars, the stains. "I commanded U-boats for 18 months, he says. I survived 347 depth charges. We learned to evade them. Hard turn during the blind spot, dive deeper, change speed. It worked, usually. But your weapon, your Hedgehog, when it came we could do nothing. Just wait, hope it missed. And when it did not miss..." He trails off. Griffin waits. "Captain Richter knew we were finished," Nickel continues. "The boat was taking water. The rudders were jammed. We could not dive again, so he surfaced, gave us a chance, threw us the rafts. Then he went back inside, went down with the boat. He was 41 years old. He had a wife in Hamburg, 2 daughters. He chose to die so we could live." "I heard. Commander Kingsley mentioned it in his report." "Did he mention what it felt like, being in that water, watching our boat sink, knowing our friends were inside, knowing they were drowning while we floated?" "No. It felt like failure, like we had betrayed them by surviving." Griffin understands that feeling. "My brother died on a merchant ship," he says. "A U-boat torpedoed it, probably one like yours. I built Hedgehog because I wanted revenge. I wanted to kill the submarines that killed Thomas." "Did it work? Did you get your revenge?" "I do not know." 47 U-boats sunk, maybe 2,000 men dead. Is that revenge, or is that just more death? Nickel looks at Griffin, really looks at him, sees the grief, the guilt, the question that has no good answer. "You want me to forgive you," Nickel says. "I want to know if it was worth it." "Was what worth it?" "All of it. The killing, the innovation, the efficiency. We became very good at death, but was it necessary?" Nickel is quiet, thinking. "I cannot answer that," he finally says. "But I can tell you this. Every convoy your weapon saved carried food, medicine, ammunition, supplies that kept Britain fighting, kept Russia fighting, kept America fighting. Without those convoys, Germany wins, Hitler wins, and the world becomes something worse than death." He leans forward. "Your weapon killed my friends, killed men I loved like brothers. But your weapon also ended the war faster. Every U-boat you sank was one less U-boat terrorizing the Atlantic. Maybe your brother's death brought something good after all." Griffin feels something break inside him. Something that has been holding together through 3 years of work and worry and wait. "I hope you are right," he whispers. "So do I." Nichols says. Because if you are not, then we all died for nothing. November 1947, Buckingham Palace. Charles Aldrich Griffin kneels before King George VI. The king taps him on each shoulder with a ceremonial sword. Arise, Sir Charles. Griffin stands. He is now Sir Charles Aldrich Griffin, Knight Commander of the Order of the British Empire, honoured for services to the war effort, for innovation in naval warfare, for helping win the Battle of the Atlantic. The ceremony is formal, dignified, proper. Griffin feels like a fraud. After the ceremony, he visits Thomas's grave. It is in Toronto, a military cemetery, rows of white headstones marching in perfect formation, each one marking a man who did not come home. Thomas Griffin, 1912 to 1941, Merchant Navy, lost at sea. Griffin stands at the grave he has not visited since the funeral, has not been able to face it. But today he forces himself. He is not alone. Sarah is there. And Michael is 7 years old now. He does not remember his father, cannot remember, was too young when Thomas died. But Sarah has shown him photographs, told him stories, made sure he knows who his father was. Uncle Charlie, Michael says. He runs to Griffin, hugs his legs. Griffin picks him up. The boy is getting heavy, growing fast. Hello, Michael. Mum says you helped win the war. I helped. Many people helped. She says you did it for Dad. Griffin looks at Sarah. She is 32 now, still young, but the war has aged her. Widowhood has aged her. Yes, Griffin says to Michael. I did it for your dad. Did it work? I do not know, but I tried. Michael hugs him. Thank you for trying. Griffin sets the boy down, watches him run back to his mother. Watches Sarah take his hand, watches them stand by the grave together, a widow and a fatherless child. The cost of war, the cost of victory. He stays until they leave. Then he stays longer, alone with his brother's memory. I got knighted today, he tells the headstone. The king himself. The headstone does not answer. I built the weapon, Thomas. It worked. We sank 47 U-boats, changed the tide of the Atlantic, made D-Day possible, probably saved thousands of lives. Still no answer. But I cannot stop thinking about the men who died. The German submariners, most of them were young, boys really, following orders, and I killed them, not personally, but my weapon did. Griffin kneels, touches the headstone. Was it worth it, Thomas? Your death, my revenge. Their deaths, all the mathematics of killing. The wind blows, cold, Canadian cold. Griffin does not expect an answer, does not get one, but somehow, kneeling there, he finds something close to peace. Not forgiveness, not absolution, but acceptance. 1964, Colonel Warren Blackwood dies, heart attack, quick, merciful. He is 77 years old. Griffin attends the funeral. Westminster Abbey, military honours. After the service, Griffin stands outside, smoking. He quit years ago, but today he makes an exception. Blackwood was the only person who truly understood the pressure of innovation, the weight of weapons, the guilt of efficiency. Now he is gone, 1978. A young journalist interviews Griffin for a documentary about the Battle of the Atlantic. Griffin is 74 years old, retired, living quietly in Cambridge. The journalist asks the expected questions. Then, do you regret it? Building a weapon that killed so many people. Griffin is quiet for a long time. Regret is the wrong word, he finally says. I do not regret stopping the U-boats. I do not regret helping win the war. But I think about the men who died. German boys in steel coffins, drowning in darkness, never knowing what hit them. I think about their mothers, their wives, their children who grew up like my nephew, without fathers.
Was it necessary? I believe it was. The mathematics suggest it was. But necessary and comfortable are not the same thing. If you could go back, would you do it again? Griffin looks at the camera.
Yes, he says. I would do it again because the alternative was worse. So yes, I built a weapon. Yes, it killed efficiently. Yes, I carry that weight. But I carry it gladly, if it meant my brother's death bought freedom, bought peace, bought a world where young men do not have to drown in submarines anymore. May 5th, 1980, Charles Aldrich Griffin dies, peacefully, in his sleep, age 76. The funeral is small, dignified. Michael, now 40 years old with children of his own. Sarah comes, 71 years old, white-haired, still a widow. She never remarried. She stands by the grave, drops a flower. "Thank you," she whispers, "for making Thomas's death matter." The eulogy is brief. Sir Charles Griffin, scientist, innovator, patriot, the man who turned the tide. Modern day, the Atlantic Ocean is peaceful. U-853 lies in 127 feet of water off Rhode Island. A dive site now. Divers visit. Touch the hull. See the holes where Hedgehog projectiles punched through. In military academies, Griffin's principles are taught. Forward-throwing weapons, contact fuses, maintained target lock. The Soviet Union copied Hedgehog, called it MBU-200, then developed RBU-6000, still in use today. The United States built ASROC, direct descendant, same principles. Every modern anti-submarine weapon traces its lineage to Charles Griffin and Warren Blackwood. In Cambridge, Griffin's headstone stands beside a small plaque, in memory of Thomas Griffin, 1912 to 1941. Lost at sea, his brother ensured his sacrifice was not in vain. The Battle of the Atlantic lasted 5 years and 8 months. 3,500 merchant ships were sunk. 72,200 Allied sailors died. 783 U-boats were destroyed. 28,000 German submariners perished. But the victory was absolute, and Hedgehog played its part. 10.6 times more deadly than depth charges. 47 confirmed kills from 268 attacks. Silent, efficient, devastating. The weapon the Germans never understood. The innovation that turned the tide. Charles Griffin built it from grief, perfected it from fury, deployed it from necessity, and carried its weight until the day he died. The mathematics say yes, it was worth it. The peaceful Atlantic confirms it. But the 2,000 dead Germans cannot answer. Neither can Thomas, neither can Griffin. The only answer is the silence. The silence of the deep. The silence of a weapon that killed so well, it changed history. The silent hammer. Still falling. Still remembered. Still teaching us that sometimes revenge becomes redemption. That sometimes the weight of death buys the peace of life. Griffin understood that, lived with it, died with it, and left behind a world where brothers have a better chance of coming home. The hammer has fallen, the ocean is quiet, the war is over.